Charles Oliveira is overrated. He's 22-9 in the UFC. He was submitted by Jim Miller, Anthony Pettis, and Islam Makhachev, and Islam also completely destroyed him. He lost the decision to Frankie Edgar and was TKO'd by Cowboy Cerrone. Okay, hold up a second. That was all in the past, to be fair. Oliveira was still young and not as mature as he is now, and not as mentally strong as he is now. A lot of Oliveira fans like to just dismiss these losses, but these losses are also losses that made Charles Oliveira into what he is today. Many people love Charles because he had such a long journey to the title, and it also had its ups and downs, and if you saw this guy back in the day, you would have never believed he becomes champion. Like, how do you get submitted by Jim Miller and you lose to Cowboy Cerrone? With all respect, he's a journeyman. Like, how are you gonna become champion if you lose to these guys? Like, oh, supposedly the submission king, wow, look at this jiu-jitsu ace. Yeah, but he was subbed by Jim Miller and by Anthony Pettis. However, he managed to come back from that, and he built a good winning streak of beating a few names. Then he started beating the big names like Kevin Lee, who was looking a bit worse at that time, had already lost a couple of times. However, Kevin was coming fresh off that vicious knockout of Gregor Gillespie. He beat Tony Ferguson. To be fair, Tony Ferguson was a changed man after the beating he took from Justin Gaethje. Then he beat Michael Chandler, and Michael Chandler was only 1-0 in the UFC, and Chandler dropped him, and to this day came the closest to finishing him out of all the opponents that almost finished Charles. He dropped him, and in the second round, Oliveira caught Chandler and somehow knocked him out. It felt like a fluke, honestly. Like, how does this guy catch Chandler and knock him out, and how does he survive? It felt like a fluke, and I'm not calling it a fluke. Relax, it's not a fluke, but it felt like one. Dustin Poirier, he got dropped by him twice. However, in the grappling, Dustin just couldn't do anything. In the guard, he was so afraid, so paranoid of Charles Jiu-Jitsu that he just froze and was just eating elbows for breakfast. Now, Justin Gaethje dropped him just like everyone else did, but somehow he also got dropped by Oliveira. Again, felt a bit fluky. It wasn't fluky, because it happened twice now. How can you call it fluky? And then he submitted Justin. Well, of course, Justin's defensive grappling is absolute dog shit, but Justin was also hurt bad. Then he fought Islam Makhachev, and fair, Makhachev destroyed him. After that comes the Beneil fight, and where he just absolutely destroyed Beneil. Now, Charles Oliveira got dropped 5 times in his last 5 fights. He has submission losses to Jim Miller, Anthony Pettis, and was easily submitted by Islam Makhachev. How did he even become a champion? How did he beat Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje? How is he even at the top of the division? Well, we're gonna start off with his grappling. His grappling is absolutely outstanding, and he's top 3 in his division. I think the best grapplers in that division are Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira. Third place, you could put like Chandler or Arman or Beneil, but I think it's fair to say that Charles is the second best grappler in the division. Also, he has good striking, a good clinch, and good knees in the clinch, of course, we know that. But how the fuck did he knock down Justin and KO Chandler? I honestly think he has sleeper power. Justin Gaethje has fought the absolute killers of the lightweight division, but even he says he's never been hit like he's been hit by Charles. And how does Charles knock down Justin, but other fighters that you'd assume are much more powerful and much better in striking don't? Well, it's sleeper power in my opinion. And also Charles, who gets dropped every fight, you also have to credit him with the fact that usually people are afraid of jumping right into his guard. So that gives him time to recover, and Charles Oliveira has amazing recovery. He also showcased that against Michael Chandler, who wasn't afraid to follow up on the ground. To be fair, it wasn't a guard, but he floored Oliveira and followed it up with some big punches on the ground, and somehow Oliveira survived. I don't know how. It could also be that Charles just, if he gets rocked, he will go down deliberately to buy some time and to recover. That could also be the case, that when he gets dropped, he sort of almost gets dropped intentionally. He's still hurt, but he does it as a defense mechanism. This could also lead his opponents to get overzealous and don't expect the force coming back, and it could make them forget that Charles Oliveira, this grappling guy, also has excellent striking. Against Beneil Dariush, he caught him with a kick that Dariush just didn't see coming, so he still works on new techniques, and his striking cannot be underestimated. Now, no one underestimates the striking, but this guy is still working on his techniques, and you have to watch out for him to hit you with something new. You haven't seen that. He is now shown that this is also threatening. He seemed a bit off against Makhachev, but he was still outclassed, to be fair. And another big factor, I would assume, is just he's hungry and he has the mental strength. Apparently becoming a father changed him, and he's a new man. Maybe the blonde hair helps. It could help with self-image, because blonde Charles Oliveira was undefeated for a time. He's hungry. He has mental strength now. He doesn't quit at the first sign of trouble, even though he kind of did against Makhachev. And I also feel like Charles is just this beacon of positive energy, and the fans love him. And I feel like Charles feeds off that positive energy he gets. That could also be a reason why he couldn't perform to his abilities in Abu Dhabi, because in Abu Dhabi everyone is rooting for Islam. Everyone wanted to see Charles lose. People weren't loudly cheering his name. And he also performs much better when the crowd is in support of him, just like he did in Vancouver when he destroyed Beneil Dariush and was screaming like, "Hello Vancouver!" That was hilarious. I've been champion for a long time. Okay, I'm not bad time. I can't do impressions as well. But overall, Charles Oliveira has outstanding grappling, top 3 in his division, sleeper power, good striking, excellent recovery, still works on new techniques, he has mental strength, and he feeds off positive energy that he gets. That is how Charles Oliveira got so good. Now at the moment, Charles Oliveira is the second greatest lightweight of all time. You could make the argument for BJ Penn, because BJ Penn won 5 title fights. However, BJ Penn also lost 5 title fights, and in general just has a lot of losses in his career, even if they were after his prime. I think that still affects your legacy, because my GOATs shouldn't lose like 100 times. And I think unfortunately for Oliveira, Islam is gonna take his title as either the second greatest lightweight, or I could also see Islam surpassing Khabib and becoming the greatest lightweight of all time. Anyways, Charles Oliveira will still be top 3, and he will live on in our heart. We will never forget the great title run Charles Oliveira had.
Vai pegar, vai pegar,